Pyramid One World Radio is a lifeline to many listening, and to a direct connection to dimensions and universes, people and places you are listening to. Pyramid One World Radio, WKIT Radio Network. We are here for the world.
Welcome to Pyramid One World Radio Network with Bob Charles. A listener of this show, a view of humanity with a dynamic pair who will give free readings tonight in both psychic and tarot. But get dialing, we want to speak to you now. After the last A View of Humanity show, Bob Charles was emailed to answer this question, and before I turn this over, dial in now to 60966300153 so we can take more questions like this one. Here's my answer to their question, which was: is the universe and multidimensions connected to unconditional love? My answer is yes. Yes, the concept of unconditional love is often associated with the multidimensional nature of the universe. According to the information provided in the search results, each dimension of the universe contains two energies: electromagnetic and magnetoelectric, also known as divine masculine and divine feminine, or light and love. The interactions of these energies in all 12 dimensions give rise to the various forces in nature. Unconditional love is described as a higher dimensional energy that goes beyond the limitations of the human physical body, allowing for self-healing, healing others, and experiencing the wonders of the higher dimensional levels. So, what does spiritual higher frequencies mean? Spiritual higher frequencies refer to the elevated energetic vibrations that are associated with spiritual growth, enlightenment, and connection to higher realms of consciousness. These frequencies are often described as being of a higher vibration nature compared to lower frequencies associated with mundane or materialistic aspects of life. They are believed to correspond to higher states of awareness, unconditional love, compassion, and spiritual transcendence. These frequencies can be cultivated through practices such as meditation, mindfulness, prayer, and acts of kindness. By attuning to these higher frequencies, individuals may experience a deeper sense of inner peace, expanded awareness, and a stronger connection to the divine or spiritual realms. This over to Maggie and Jamie. Here's the question and my answer. Enjoy! And if anyone listening would like to add to this or talk to the hosts, just dial into show 60966300153. Put your hands together and welcome Jamie and Maggie Clark.
great.
Yeah, we are.
The voice of God. I love it. And it was interesting about the dimensions and the different aspect.
You know, nobody, I mean, I went back, you know how many shows we have with you and with Dr. Turi and a lot of other people now. And I went through things. I mean, I sat here for like 4 hours just blowing my brain up, you know, at stuff. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, there's got to be something somewhere on here that somebody relates one thing to the other. And I finally figured it out for myself and put together all the pieces. Not one person actually said what I said all in one mouthful. And I said, oh, you know, if you're going to throw, you know, 2 pounds of you know what in a bag, I'm going to get it in there one way or the other.
Right.
So I did the best I could. So
excellent. You did great, man. Great insights. I love that question too.
Well, that was the question that I got, and I looked at the question sideways. You know, I was like, whoa.
The good thing is look, they're actually open to share, to make comments, to question things. That's beautiful. You have enough guts.
I got two, one from Somalia and one from Jakarta, and one from Pakistan.
Okay.
And you know, it was like they were close for some reason. We did it. It was either last show or the show before that a lot of people related to what we were saying. They literally thought about it, and that's what I tell people all the time. Don't just listen to the show to listen to the show. Listen to the show to get something out of it. If you don't the first time, do it again. Listen to it again. See if there's something you missed. And there usually is. And when they do go through either the second time or they realize that what they listened to was something that they have to react to, that's when I get the questions.
Excellent. Good. And it opens them up.
So,
question. I mean, yes.
And I always tell everybody, look, you can call in by 609-663-0153, or you can text me. Okay, all you people running around doing your texting all the time, text to this number, 863-222-4199. If you got a question during this show, just 863-222-4199. You can text me. I'm watching it. Or if you're on Google, go to Pyramid One Radio. Scroll down to when you see Pyramid One Radio, and you see a little /Wix, W-I-X. When you see that, click on that. That will come to our landing page. Scroll down. There's a whole bunch of stuff right now in the chat room for you to read, and I can also see any question you put in there. So you don't have to call if you're afraid to call, or you don't want to call, or you don't like your voice on the radio, or you don't want anybody to know who you are because you're eating mice in the back room or something. Whatever. But
where's Becky?
Whatever you're doing. Look, there's 5 different ways of communications into the show. If you can't use them, those. Hey,
Bob, thanks for being you, man, and doing what you're doing. I appreciate that. And you are bringing this world together. It's nice when we can have bridges of connection, modalities, different aspects. And not only can it be this, but it can be entertaining and informative. It doesn't have to be all the serious, crazy stuff. It can be like, man, let's do the best we can to lighten up and keep going.
Well,
Get serious.
Don't forget, we have 3 different studios, okay? And each one of them that goes off at different times. Some of them, one of them, especially Texas, they go like a 9 o'clock show or an 8 o'clock show and something like that. And so many people say to me, why do you have your shows at 5, 6 o'clock? Well, it's easy. You be in England and you get up at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning to listen to this show right now because it's 5 or 6 o'clock tomorrow. Yeah. Or if you go to Australia, they're 14 hours ahead of us. You know? So, I mean, by 6 o'clock, there's nobody that has an excuse to say anywhere in the world that they can't listen to us. Bah, humbug.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, that's the
way. Can I ask, Bob, with your life, did you have an idea of making this happen, these shows, this network, or did you just kind of manifest it?
You want me to bare my soul on this show?
If you're okay with it. People want to hear, man.
Look, and so many people do this, by the way, and if anybody is, just write bobcharlesshow@live.com. Write me. Tell me what you think. or message me or chat me or whatever you're going to do. But when I was 2, my mother being a singer, and that when she was younger, she was the kind of person that, like so many people that, like your mother didn't either. They too many people push people in a certain direction or a certain path, or they try to tell them, look, your father did this, so you have to do this, or and there's a million different things out there that I could state. But in my mother's, just to more or less defend her in a way, I liked listening to music, and she picked it up because she was into music. So of course, when I picked up the music, she started playing a lot of stuff and on the radio and everything else, and she'd have the titles of all the songs and everything else. So between, say, 1 3/4 and two age of 2, I was actually being able to know the name of the song that was playing because I was reading the thing. She would tell me what it was and tell me what I was looking at, and I would know this. A doctor that was a pediatrician of mine at that time, he said, he's happy, he's this and that and the other thing, right? So my mother says, yeah, he reads records now. So the doctor said, huh? Now this was a doctor that back then they did house
calls.
House calls, and this guy did drop off and to see me do what I did, and he was like, whoa,
wow.
So it was one of those kind of things where like you're born. Your soul has been somewhere else. You don't know where your soul has been. It could have been doing anything. Who knows? I could have been on a slut on some corner somewhere with my skirt up in the air.
You mean different than this life? No, I'm kidding.
But I'm saying, we don't know all the things that we've done in other lifetimes. And when you say other lifetimes to people, they look at you and go, huh?
Well, and that's the forgettery. We don't remember where we come from or know where we're going. So it gives us the gift of living in the present because this is all we have. It's like, yeah, but there is no death. To me, I never ever talked to the dead.
But if you go to a this is funny because I actually did this one time. I went to a funeral of a friend of mine.
Oh shit!
And I mean, it's not something I'm not a few. I didn't go to my father's funeral, and I didn't go to my mother's. Went to her burial, but I didn't go to her actual, laying out the body and all this kind of crazy stuff and everything. That's not. I don't believe in that kind of stuff because I know that the body itself is a vessel. I did the dinners and things, to give my respect to any favorite family or friends or whatever at the time. But as far as I'm concerned, that person was standing right behind me going, go ahead, keep telling him. But that's been with me since my mother told me dreams or stories actually, but they were real, of her mother being with them, even though the mother passed when her youngest sister was born. So all the way through her life, my mother's mother was with her and knew all about the kids and, the whole 9 yards. So, I mean, all those things, if you're me and you've taken in all that stuff and all that family information and everything, I believed in spirituality before I ever did a spiritual anything because I knew it was real. Nobody was kidding. Like the cards. The cards are real. It's energy that reads you. A psychic is reading your energy and reading it. I mean, it's like a VPN network directly to you. He doesn't take in anything else. There's no outside interference or anything else. It's one-to-one. And these things, same thing as a medium. A medium is nothing but a psychic that looks in a different direction.
I like that. That's good.
But it's true.
True. Right.
So, I mean, all of these things put together, people who do not come into this show when it's live and call in, phenomenal. I mean, come on. I mean, you'd have to be, right now I know everybody's watching TV because they got Trump all over TV. Mm. So I mean, everything from Newsmax to ABC to NBC. I mean, I saw it before I started the show. So I mean, all right, I'll excuse somebody now, but they better listen to the shows now when it's all done, because I'm going to have that all over the place too.
But you're giving them a platform to even be able to understand in some way. Not everyone is doing that. I really appreciate what you're doing.
You know what I feel like? I feel like a guy on a boat that's throwing one of those lifesavers out into the water. I really am. I mean, shows like this, shows like tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to have Mark Brinkerhoff is going to be on tomorrow, and you know all the stuff. And I've written stuff already, you know, about him, and it's in his intro, and that
Cool.
people today that believe certain things about UFOs, and they're like, oh, well, the government says this, the government says that, the government says that. They know squat. I mean, I'm serious. And it's not just Mark. I mean, I have other people too that I talk to, you know, that like Mark. And, you know, Ben there did that. You know, it's one of those kind of things. They're here. I mean, it's not, I'm not going to look at a TV and see a little spot on the TV, go, beep. It's not going to happen like that.
See, I was questioning what's the pushback going to be? Well, all these years you thought you knew better for humanity and there's nothing. And now all of a sudden there is something. And again, just to me is when our brothers and sisters from elsewhere, and they've never left. We're not originally from here. But when they're standing before us, religion as you know it is gone. Then it's like, well, who's your God? Who's your Rose Bunny? And the name is still a Rose, whatever you want to call it. But that is a dynamic that is being perpetuated and acclimating humanity. That's why just for this, I was saying it a while ago that 2023 will be like an activation. You'll see a bunch more videos on religion and extraterrestrials because they've got to bridge that. Because if they didn't, then everything is going askew. But there's that one gentleman, I think he's Pope. Is that what his name is? Yeah. He said, exactly. Yeah, we may not be alone in the universe. Going, right, they're not silly. So when our brothers and sisters are standing before us, and there's more than just one breed, not just the reptilians, there are many others. But it's now becoming more practical to go, okay, all these years we thought those people were a bunch of nut jobs. Now they're acknowledging that there are beings, is that what they call them, beings from other worlds and technology. I'll just say that we have more technology than most people are even aware of.
True.
It's amazing. Yeah.
You know what? I tell you, you know, and I've said to so many people, and it was something that you had said, Maggie, on one of the shows, and that the people are different. And people, if you want to use the word people, on other in other dimensions, in other worlds, in other solar systems, et cetera, cannot. I'm not saying will not. I'm saying cannot look like us. It just ain't gonna happen because our DNA is here with the planet, and our DNA makes us what we are because we are. And it makes them what they are because they are. And if there's such thing as a Martian, I'm quite sure he don't look like us. Unless, now there are the ones that do the old swapping of the, you know, things, the little, you know, visual trick.
We'll just tell you, shape-shifting is very real. When you have the technology, then it moves from science fiction to science fact.
Right.
And when you have a firsthand experience and you see that, you'll have no choice but to go, I don't understand it. I just experienced it, which is what happened for me. And I had no choice but to go, what the flagnog? And then I've talked to other people and, you know, there's a lot more that's going on than just that.
And on Sunday, you're going to like this. They had a show on NASA. I think it's before 8:00. On Sundays, I always turn it on. They always got NASA on. But this thing was talking about experiments. And one of the experiments was this guy with things all over his head and everything, sensors and stuff all over. And he was doing remote viewing on other planets. And I know you're there. And that, so I'm looking at this stuff on TV, and I grab Diane over there, you know, and says, hey, yo, you gotta see this. I know all about this stuff.
Yeah.
I heard about this. So
Moves from crazy to, oh, maybe you
yeah,
just had
yeah.
some information.
But what they were saying was to be able to develop the psychic part in all of us. And when he said that, I was like, "Ah, somebody got it! I can't believe it. I'm gonna die. Excuse me." I mean, it was like, oh my God, somebody actually said you could. Oh wow, you can. Oh,
Yes.
and it's like it's crazy. People don't get it. I mean, they I mean, I do forgive a lot, and I do say that a lot of people have too much going on in their lives to be able to actually separate one from the other.
What if that's some of the misdirection that goes on? You better be busy. You better pay them bills. You got to have a job. You got to do just a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean,
Distraction.
if you do all those things, I mean, the brain's working in overtime. I mean, let's face it. I mean, there's like the billions of things firing off in your brain just when you say dog. Say
Yeah,
dog.
huh?
In your brain is the picture, the smell, the throwing the stick, the
And the
phone,
feeling of the
all of
love,
it, all of it. You
acceptance.
feel
Yes.
I mean, all those things are firing all at the same time when you say dog. So just imagine that when you go around and somebody's speaking or whatever. I mean, you're thinking about the audience, you're talking about the hot dogs, you're thinking about anything you want to. It could be a billion different things. We are miracles on two legs.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way, we got here. I'd love to shake the hand of the guy that put us here. I mean, but let's face it, every single one of us goes through hell somewhere, some way, before we die. From the time you're born till the time you die, somewhere in between there's hell, and you're going to go through the downside of being a human. We all do it. I mean, there's nobody that doesn't do it. Those people that doesn't do it don't exist.
Art human, right?
Exactly, they don't exist. So what we do is when we are finished with our lives, that's why the energy that we take with us from one life to now, tell me whether I'm wrong or not, because I mean, I'm only feeling this because of my dad's 1, 2, and I was somewhere else once. But when you go from one place to the other, there's things that you realize that you didn't while you were breathing on Earth.
Give me an example.
For instance, there you learn the things that you learned in your life, and it all comes to you like a video. It automatically goes right through your head. I mean, you get. I
Through
mean,
your soul.
even if you're 90 years old, you get 90 years worth of your life in seconds. That's how quick it goes.
Yes. And in less than that.
I'm sure.
Yes.
And what I'm also saying is, you also get the other side. You also get where you were before, the little things that you did do. Where were you before you were where you were? I mean, all of these things that you get to realize. And that is the beauty of the whole thing. I mean, it's like opening up a treasure chest or something. It's like, wow, I did that. I mean, and you go all kinds of crazy. People don't realize what a miracle they really, really are. And if they really, really did, then when I say, or even the thing that I put out on love, that write up that I did on love.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
When I put that out, what I mean by that is we are all, everything that was contained in what I said is contained in each one of us. The unconditional love is in us. We were born with it. We always have it. We'll never lose it. Now, will we use it? See, now there's where you got a little.
Isn't it crazy? Love allows everything to be good, bad, happy, sad. And I always say, love of itself already is unconditional. The moment that you say unconditional love, you just put a condition on it. And it's that kind of versatility that a lot of people are being distracted. We all got to pay the bills. We got to do our thing. But it's now going, yeah, but now it's the tipping point of consciousness. Now people are starting to kind of wake up to a certain extent and starting to question things. That's why I'm like, please question everything. Just be open. That way we get the practicality of spirituality. And to me, just from my awareness and doing this my whole life, a lot of people will tend to think, well, when you're out of this physical reality, then it's just energy. And I'm like, really? Well, aren't we right now living on the other side of where we come from before here? Is that when we must have died? Or could it just be a shift in consciousness, vibrational patterns of energy? And then realizing that each dimension is just as solid as this one. And oh, yeah, nothing's solid. It's all vibrational patterns of consciousness, energy, light, frequencies, vibrations. And then that love thing, I always share the fact to go, just paraphrasing, but there's a gentleman who's pretty smart, is Albert Einstein. And apparently many years ago, he had written about 1,400 letters, and he told whoever it was to please put these away and do not show humanity this for at least a few decades. They're not ready for it. And then apparently a year or two ago, they opened them up and they found the letters, and they found a letter addressed to his daughter. And I always say, I didn't even know he had a freaking daughter, man. Holy crap. And paraphrasing, basically what the letter said was, we have discovered that love is a real life force energy from which all life experience flows from. I'm like, this is a scientist who had the technology to obliterate life, is also the very same scientist to realize that love gives life.
But you know what? I'm not a scientist, and I really realize it.
Yeah, that's the point.
But you see,
Can
this is the thing. Yeah, but what I'm saying is the same thing that he has in him, the same spiritual feeling or essence that he has in himself, we all have.
Yes. But he just systematized and categorized, scientifically validated. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, we are so cool. You know,
yeah. And it's great. I gotta say, there is so much more beyond this. This is like, isn't this cute? It's lovely. Oh my goodness. Yeah. This world is going to be in for a lot of growth very quickly.
You know what I want to bring up though? You guys are busy. Busy. I see you all over the place, and I see Maggie's videos all the time. Actually, I put them. You know what I do? I put those in the car, and I plug them into the radio. And when I'm out and I'm driving or something like that, I just beep, and that's it. So I get to listen to the show, when I have nothing
as much as you want, man.
Huh?
As much as you want. And that's why I'm saying, look, you're broadcasting information. You're sharing, if they even choose to listen. They're not made to, they're allowed to. And when you can do that, because why? Because you choose to, because you want to, not because you have to. It's you. That's why I was asking earlier, going as a child, so you were into this, the music stuff and being in front of people, kind of like your mom. What if just on a molecular structure, because you do come from your mom, her thought patterns and energy exchange and all that became part of who you are, which in turn gave you a similar vibe of, hey, I love entertainment, I love to sing or music or whatever the case is. And in the beginning, it seems coincidental. There is no coincidence. It is precision on the universe's part. So I'm just sharing the fact to go, wasn't that interesting? At 2 years old, you're freaking apparently rating albums. And the doctor's like, what the holy God? So it's only science fiction till it's science fact. All it took was you to be able to show them, you're just doing you. You're like, I don't know, this is what I can do. And they're like, oh my God. And that shifted.
I had a picture, I don't know whether you guys got it, of me playing in the studio. I have a good guitar on, and I'm singing.
If you would, send us another one, please, just to make sure.
I think it's a black and white.
Cool.
But the thing was, I was, I guess, 17, 18 at the time. Do you know that Facebook flagged it? A community something?
Why?
I have no idea why. And I mean, that time, that was, let me see, my first band was together when I was 14. But it was a kids kind of thing, like backyard,
right,
band.
Sure. Neighborhood. Yeah.
The second one, we were like 17, 16, 17, 18, 19, in that ballpark. And it was a 5-piece. And we all, knew our stuff and everything else. We were good, believe it or not. I mean, it shocked the hell out of us. I'm serious. I mean, we did some weird stuff, and I mean, I was a good singer back then, but we used to do like people would have like barbecues, and it would have like a barbecue like with 4 or 5 neighborhoods, or 4 or 5 backyards, or something like that. And we'd be in the middle of whatever it was, and then we'd play. And then they'd have like their barbecue and everything else. Now we'd eat our brains out. And then we'd go and we'd play for an hour or 2 hours and that or whatever else. And all the neighbors and everything else that would do their dancing and the whole 9 yards. And then that spread to the whole town. That was Saddlebrook, New Jersey.
Cool.
That we were in. And that kept going and going and going. But then, everybody wanted to go their own way. They wanted to do their own thing. And I said, okay. So then there was Susie. Little Susie was a 4 foot 1 inch drummer that would blow your mind away. And I have on this show, I have interviewed her daughter, who is a singer right now in New York City, in Manhattan. And, here's another kid that was like me, that was beating on garbage cans with her, I think her brother's drumsticks or something like that. And she was a kid. She was 3 years old, banging on garbage cans. So the garbage cans eventually became a drum set. And that became a drum set, and then that became a drum set. And here's this 4 foot, 1 girl that can actually play these things. So we went out with a band called Together. I have a picture of her laying on top of my car in Niagara Falls.
Cool.
And we played the Sheridan in up there. And we were only a two-piece band. I had an acoustic 12-string. So I could play, sounded like 12 guitars going off at the same time. And the two of us sang. She was also a singer. And I'm telling you, we did so well. But you want to talk about things that are people that want to do, or they have a calling and they use it. I mean, if somebody wanted me to be a technician, say, and I always liked the way, unhard cement looks. So I wanted to be a mason or a construction worker or something like that. But my dad, my mom, and they're telling me, no, you gotta put electric clocks together or whatever. And I was like, dude. And then eventually you give in to the parents and you do what you're gonna do. But for the rest of your life, you feel bad that you didn't smell that concrete.
Yeah.
What I tell people to do is don't listen to anyone on the outside. Listen to yourself. And I tell everybody to love themselves, but to love yourself, you have to listen to yourself and respect yourself. And when that is done, when that is attained, then everyone around you will not only respect you, but they will also believe you as a friend.
Yeah.
And there won't be any weird stuff going on. Nobody's going to shoot anybody or anything else. And then you go up to somebody and say, hey, listen, man, how you doing? The guy's going to give you a gun. I don't think it's going to happen like that. Be straight with everybody, and everybody will be straight with you.
Yes. Be sincere. If it's there, say it. If not, don't be making crap up. I agree. I'm right there with you.
And Maggie, you got a billion things on your mind, man. You just want to spit it out.
Oh, I'm just following the flow of conversation at the moment.
I know, but you're stuck in the stream, man. Go in.
You look blank.
Stuck in the stream. Yeah, that.
No.
There you go.
From where I'm standing, and that I can read eyes.
Cool.
And usually an eye will tell you a whole. I mean, look, the windows of the soul, And I'm serious. I mean, she's something's going through her head. She wants to say, go ahead.
I'm just a big fan of following the heart as well. I think when you really follow the essence of who you are, what's in your heart, and what you're passionate and creative about, it's always the right direction, because you can look back and be like, I did that, or I tried it, or I got to experience that, whatever the thing is, whether you're creating something or experiencing something. Following your heart is the best piece of advice anyone can give you, because that is what we're all striving to do. Even if we don't know we are, we're striving to listen to our heart. We're striving to hear the voice of our heart. And then we really do want to follow our heart, because that's really what brings us happiness and love and peace and connectivity. And I think that is the most beautiful part of, really, really heeding the call of the heart.
I would love to take this show on the road. I'm serious.
So why don't you?
It's like, I don't know. It's like,
and
it's not like I can, and not like I won't. It's that I don't.
At the moment, right?
At the moment, not at the moment.
Look at how exciting that is. All you're doing is talking about it. Yet look at the emotional response. Yeah, I'm like, right. That's when you have an idea of what's vibing with you or not. That's why for me, I'm always open to other people, but I trust myself. I'm the only one who's going to live it. Why would I not trust myself? And then again, for me, it's I needed validation. If I feel something, what's the freaking outcome? Otherwise, I could feel all I want, but if I have no reference, whatever, I'm very practical with this spiritual stuff. So when people can put this into their life in a way, in any way that feels good for them, one, they're more willing to work with it and be on that channel. Two, it becomes a little less fearful and more empowering to go, you had enough guts to even open up to this spiritual stuff. And in spite of what others might think, good, that's their reality. That's very valid for them. However, what's your truth? And that's what you're doing. You're sharing.
Well,
That's beautiful.
like for Maggie, there's been people all week long that saying, "You guys actually do a tarot reading on the air?"
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Here's
amazing.
the number, here's the time, here's the day. You know what I mean? It's everything short of sending the dog form. You know, I mean, it's one of those kind of things. And if he's not here, then obviously he either forgot or and then
Just hasn't been able to. You know, it's kind of funny, but playfully for dogs, the unconditional love, we love them because they accept us completely. What if just in a playful way that God, G-O-D, you flip it and it's the
Turn it
complete
around.
opposite? Yeah. And wait a minute, there's that circle that's the center no matter what and where you go.
And same vibrational pattern numerologically as well, since
okay.
every letter has a correlation to a number. So
Yeah. That's why in doing the remote viewing, I was trained by Major Ed Dames, and it is numbers. You do target things and you can connect. That's why I'm like, right, you really, I will just say they do a lot more than just what they share on. People got them their head things on and they're making those connections like, right, they're not going to, anything that they're sharing, they're allowed to share. Otherwise, it will not be activated at all. They're not silly. That's why there's this activation of humanity now from our ET brothers and sisters. Because it's like, oh, so now solidly they're saying that they're real in some way. Then we got to open up to our solar system acquaintances, Mars, Venus. I just from my awareness, but I will say that there are a lot of Venusians, Venus people, who look a lot like humans. They have been coming to this planet quite some time.
And yeah, there's several species I think that could pass for human just because of the similarities of structure. Absolutely.
And a lot of them are bipedal, 2 legs, 2 arms, 1 head kind of thing. You don't see a lot. And each planet has its own vibrational pattern of energy, meaning, you know, I share a fact just to me that really, so out of all of the species, Jesus is going to come as a human. How interesting. Well, right, because they want to match what's going on. Because if they came into this planet as a whole completely different looking being than a human, people would be freaking out. But, oh, this guy's human and he's walked our walk and talked the talk. And so it's a little bit more open. And he always said, hey, man, what I do, you can do. And not only that, you can do more if you choose to. Do you want to or what? Let me just give you some information. Your choice if you want to listen.
You've probably heard it for a long time, and that people say that Jesus Christ was an alien, and
in essence, he is.
I have to say, from my own heart, I believe that too.
Yeah.
But I believe he was sent here on a benevolent level, one that was unmatched by anything since that time.
So far, yep.
What if he was half human and half alien, though? Because to truly be an example of what is possible for humanity, wouldn't it, like you said, Jimmy, wouldn't it be wiser to come in a human body, in a human form, with some human genetics and DNA and trials and tribulations that humanity has to go through? It would be way more impactful if he showed us you could do it too. You don't have to be an alien or extraterrestrial or something else. You can just be your human person and still do what I did and do it better. You know, so there's something about these great spiritual leaders that have walked the face of the earth. They are examples to each other. They're examples to this world. They're examples that we tend to put on a pedestal and follow on a spiritual base because that's what we've done with a lot of deification of different types of energies. But then when you go back to the different pantheons of gods and goddesses, whether you're looking at Egypt or Greek or Roman, what if those were aliens? Because they did have the superhero powers. I mean, they lived on Mount Olympus, or they lived in a pyramid, or, so we could see that there have been times in history where maybe there was a huge influence of a different race, but humanity wasn't ready, or we forgot, how to be more like them, to grow up. And so they needed to do it from the inside. They needed to come here as human. So I like to think that some of the spiritual leaders that were, I guess, a little closer to in history have been human and in human forms, to say, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. You don't have to change form. You can be who you are on this planet, which is quite difficult to be on at times, and still be able to love, still be able to open your heart, still be able to expand consciously, and then grow and flourish and find that sense of quote unquote heaven on earth, So I do believe that a lot of these greats have been with our own human genetic material, so that we know without a shadow of a doubt, we feel something familiar with that. And we're like, oh my gosh, if they can do it, I can do it too.
You just needed to know it was possible.
Yes.
Don't forget one thing. It does say in the Bible that Jesus Christ was born of Virgin Mary.
Okay, so if we want to,
hold on.
Okay.
Okay. What would, when you said they would come out, I mean, nobody, all right, if an alien comes in and he does a switching out thing, okay, maybe he can look like an adult or a kid, or whatever. This is something that came from within.
It had to be in human form.
It
Yes.
started as us.
I must say, I love the theory that Jesus was born of a human female, Mary, Mother Mary, and an alien. Okay, I love this theory. In fact, that's the one that I really truly want to believe. But also, but also when you study some historical context of just the word virgin, there was actually priestesses that were called virgins, Vestal virgins.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, and way back in the day, before 2000 years ago, before the time of Jesus Christ, more like closer to Sumerian influences, like 4,000 BCE, these Vestal virgins weren't necessarily what we consider virgins today. They still gave of their body sexually to people to give them inspiration, and there was ceremonies that they did where they actually would conceive children. So if the emperor didn't have a child, they would serve for a year some of these children of the Vestal virgins, because they were very profound in society. So the word virgin itself has been we can't take it literally all the time, because some of these virgins, they were priestesses in ancient temples with different teachings, but they still sometimes had sex or intercourse and gave of themselves this way, or agreed to, or decided to, or whatever the case was, for certain reasons. And so was Mother Mary an actual virgin, or was she a priestess in a temple, that had ancient yeah. And so there, I'm just going to throw this out there, that word in and of itself, we can't trust historical context of that word, because they took the word virgin, and which was an honor to be a priestess in some of these ancient facets, and then they took that and then they made it into like, okay, now you have to be pure of sexual energy and without sexual energy, and then you can be glorified if you're a virgin. So they're taking the whole sexual energy component out of humanity, but realize that was patriarchy for thousands of years, to take everyone's power away from them. Because if they knew they could access great power within their own life force energy, whether it's through their sexual energy or through their spiritual energy, or both, because all energy is just a different way of experiencing it. If we knew that we were that freaking powerful, with relationship to that energy, to wield magic in this world, or to wield some great energy, the first thing that any culture is going to do if they want to control the masses is take away the power base. And so when you take away sexual energy, you take away your ability to access your life force energy. And in place of it, you're supposed to be like virginal. Hello, that's not 95% of the planet. So none of us are of like what? Even available to be associated with a godlike nature or our own spirituality because we're that. And then we have to feel shame and guilt and all this trauma around our sexual energy because it's what? Because of a culture that was shifting and changing into a patriarchal culture that wanted to be in control of the masses versus having everyone be in their own divine, sovereign control over their own energy, their own power, their own influence. And so that's what we saw when we moved out of some of these ancient cultures and these ancient mystery schools and things that have been lost in time and are burned by the patriarchy. I mean, gosh, Alexandria. So yeah. Anyway, that's Maggie's rant today. So don't always trust that when they say virgin in any historical text from 2,000 years ago, that is actually a true statement because they might be using ancient language to describe it.
See, I'm way simpler. Look, at the end of the day, he came out just like we did. And I believe, I mean, just maybe it's just me, but the soul was the spirit that was Christ.
Yes.
The baby was the organic part of what the earth is made of, us.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, he came out in our form to please us or whomever. And the soul that was inside was what developed him to actually be able to go into a temple and talk to all the priests that were there and more or less tell them off in their own religion.
Yes.
Tell them where their religion was going. And he had the guts to do it. Kid. He was only a kid. Imagine that. And now we call them, oh, these are prodigies. Prodigies, it's one of these things where like we're all prodigies. We all are. Whether we use it or not, or let it develop. That's what we don't do. And life would be a whole lot better than that if all these kids that were out here weren't given half of the crap that they got right now and that in the schools. I mean, let's face it. When I grew up, all right, I must have been, maybe I was a weirdo somewhere. I skipped 2 grades.
Nice.
I mean, I
used to skip by the class, but
no. I mean, 2 grades. I didn't get 5th grade. I got 6th grade, and when I got into like being a freshman in school, I was automatically a sophomore.
Wow, fantastic!
I mean, it's like the stuff that they had in the class used to bore me. I could fall asleep in class, and take the class and take the test and still pass. So
yeah.
it was one of those kind of things. That's just the way I was when I was that age because I knew what I was, and everybody should know what they are. And when somebody tells you what you are, kind of sort of goes against the grain, kind of sort of, you know what I mean? Because let's face it, if you should be able to cancel out the rest of the world that's around you and just think about you. I mean, we call it in some cases meditation, which you can do like that. There are some other things. I mean, let's face it, Maggie, you got a million words that I can't say, but it's just there are so many things you could do to get in your own more or less solid, silent, all by yourself, extreme world where you can examine everything that's going on around you and then use it for yourself.
Yes. And you're allowed to.
Which develops too, because when you do that for yourself and then you wind up helping other people.
Yes. And the more you help others, the more you're helping yourself.
We had somebody on the phone but they hung up.
Oh,
okay.
Maybe they waited too long.
Yeah, sorry, we're yapping here.
Yeah, if you're listening, but if you're listening, it was a 480 number, so I mean it's around you.
Perfect.
Whoever was on the phone that before and you want to call back, go ahead. Anybody else that didn't, it's 609. Whoops. Yep, 609-663-0153. I thought something came through on the chat thing. 609-663-0153. If you dial that phone number, now you'll get a reading.
Yeah, we got at least a few more minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah.
Now here again, just for me, I love to push buttons, but I believe that Jesus is said to have died for our sins, and he was on the cross apparently as they're perceiving it, but I think he only died for a few days, because didn't he rise on the third day?
Yep.
Wasn't that something like, oh, so what if it was just symbolic to go, let the crap go. There is no judgment except what you judge yourself on. And hey, by the way, I'm up and at 'em. See ya. And then they're like, how the frick did that happen? Well, again, it had to be in a human form or people wouldn't be able to comprehend it.
See, here's again why I say that Jesus Christ, spirit, that was born with the organic body that he became.
Mhm.
Take someone who was killed on a cross. He died for us on the cross. Then you take 3 days later, and for us, he proved that there is a supreme being. There is a God. So he grows to show everybody, hey, get it together, guys. That's what he was saying. Get it together. On the other hand, there was an ascension. He took the body with him.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah.
Anything's possible.
Right.
So, there are so many things that happen on Earth every day, and we can watch it around us. You can tell the dark side, and you can tell the white side. You can, in my case anyway, you can feel it.
Cool.
Somebody's been mad or mean or just a bad person. I swear to God, I get hot. I mean, like it could be 30 degrees outside and I'll sweat.
Notice your telltale sign of being able to read energy. Yep, if it's one of them lower energies, I get all hot like. Really? Isn't that psychic now? Aren't you saying it before it happens? Isn't it hot? Well,
it was
again.
But then you have the other things that where when you're with a bunch of people that are like really like into you and they're really like open and their brains are open and their minds and what they're thinking about is all open, and you can actually like get into that little crack in humanity and begin to like manipulate things between each other one of them, make them live with each other better because they understand things better, and you get these things going. You feel giddy in a sense. You feel like, wow, this is great.
Euphoria.
I mean, it's like going to bed with 14 of those virgins. I mean, it's like, no, but you really, but seriously, you really, 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 really feel good. You actually did something. You can say, hey, look what I did. I mean, it's crazy, but it's true. And people don't realize that. And that's what, makes me, it just makes me perplexed. I mean, it's like, it's crazy. You're like scratching your head, for a thing. I know this guy.
Share the information, their choice if they want to accept it or not.
There's a guy that listens to the shows. Every single time in that I was late by like one day putting it in because every time I put it into YouTube, for some reason they kicked it out. But finally I got it in. But the guy said to me, he said, well, where's the show? And I was like, you really listen to the show? He goes, yeah.
Wow.
You never know what people say because people can be nice. But yeah, this one guy listens to every single one of the shows. The last one that we did, like this one, that we were talking a lot, he got more out of that show than he did out of a whole bunch of them. Because he said, when you guys were talking about it, things I think about all the time, I just don't talk about them.
Just bring it to the surface of consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not the only weird one as we perceive it. It's like, right, it takes a lot of guts to be into your own spiritual, whatever that is, in order to be able to be in the world, but not of it. Because it can be very, sometimes jading, and it doesn't always go our way. But when you have the steadfastness, the best that you can, it doesn't make it an easy ride. But if you keep going and you're able to make it to the end, now it's a solid validation to go, okay, you know what? If you can do it, then maybe I can do it. I'm like, frickin' A, right. And keep going and show yourself.
It's either that or the rest of them are still like, you
Life's a game. Yep, exactly.
But they're all thinking on their own level. It's like, oh well, should
The
I do
ability
that?
to communicate, right?
I
Reach the
told
masses the best we can.
one guy didn't know there was something that he wanted to do. There was a job that he wanted to go to, and but trust me when I tell you, man, I may be a psychic, but I would never admit anybody. But the guy himself in there saying, like I don't know whether I wanted this, I want to, it's a regret. I said, is it a good opportunity? He said, yeah. I said, do you know the job? Oh yeah, that's the. As soon as he said that, forget about it. That was, I already had my foot around his neck. But it was like, yeah, okay. So you can do the job, you like the job, but you're afraid of leaving your job, and because you don't know how you're going to do the other job. I said, look, do me a favor. I said, you see that building over there? He says, yeah. Well, the buildings are only about down here in Florida. They're small. So, I mean, it's only maybe 10 stories up in the air. I said, go to the top. I says, stand right on the edge of the thing and on the top and say, am I going to jump or not? So he said, are you crazy? I said, no, you are. I said, you think that it's so safe. I said, well, you are, but you don't know what would happen if you did jump. I said, you're sure that you know all about the job and you know all about what it is and you like the place that you want to go to, but you won't jump. So I said, if you're going to stand there, I says, and do nothing, I said, then don't ask me anything about your job because I says, only you can fix that. And believe it or not, this is like a month and I guess about 6 weeks or so ago, and he's at the other job.
Cool.
And he's happy.
Good.
He used to be one of the managers too, right over around here. Now he's a manager over in another place. He went from, being in the food business to now being in like he's, it's a business. It's like paperwork.
What if sometimes it's a step-stage process to get there?
He enjoyed doing that kind of stuff, and he's awesome. He's already turned around one department that was already there.
Excellent.
So I mean, that's the kind of thing it was. But you had to show the guy that, like, hey, only you can make that decision, not your brain, not anything else, and that you, the whole of you, everything, fingers, toes, anything.
Yep.
And he did. And so many people out there right now, after all this pandemic and everything else, and that they're scratching their head saying, gee, should I go back to work? Could I do this? Should I make more money? Why don't you just go and see how it all works out? And then you'll say, oh, I'm going to kick myself in the butt that I didn't take the other job. I said, so go ahead, do it.
But at least they realized there were other opportunities. Not like there's no choice. They had to choose whether to do it or not. And so people are starting to get their own validation. Go, do you have enough guts to go in your direction? Again, it's not easy. There are no guarantees. Hey, that's interesting. We're good.
You know who this is? Of course you wouldn't know who this is. I'm going to put him in voicemail. Okay. It's Rob Potter. If you look Rob Potter up, Rob Potter is the UFO dude that did the mountain up in Washington State.
Oh, okay.
Where all the UFOs are and everything else.
Is that Mount Shasta?
Mount Shasta?
Mount Shasta, yeah. And he knows Venusians and everything. I mean, he is like so heavy into all this stuff.
And he's got enough guts to talk about it.
Well,
he's interesting.
He's coming back. He wanted to do a show. And the thing in that. So he called me up the other day. He said, Pop, listen, I want to do that show. And I said to myself, oh, that's cool. I want you to do that show. So, I mean, there's so many things. See, the thing that's driving me kind of crazy right now, and I mean, I know I'll get you guys out of here real quick, but the things that are bugging me, so many things that are coming out from the government about who, what, when, where, how, and why of UFOs or ET or alien life. And all this stuff and everything that they're telling everybody that everybody's going, oh, wow, it's all wrong. That's what gets me by the throat. And I'm like, oh.
And in what way? What do you mean it's all wrong? What do you mean by that?
They don't give you the whole story. They don't tell you everything. They have so much, wrapped up that we don't know about. They say, oh, well, the aliens were here and everything. Look, it goes back to 1947 when a guy was standing on the ground with a weather balloon saying, oh, well, it was a weather balloon. Meanwhile, they got a real piece of that ship in Area 51.
Mm-hmm.
Hangar. And one of the guys, I actually spoke to one of the guys that worked there.
Remember, that's only a conscious recognition of seemingly an outside source coming to the planet. Again, I don't know nothing for nobody. I will tell you, they have been here a lot longer than humans have.
Oh, sure.
And it's not just one species. It's not just one race. There are many.
This guy was giving me a whole bunch of garbage about dimensions and everything else. I said, dimensions, I said, are seconds away. Not days, not weeks, not months. I said seconds.
Yes.
Seconds away, moments. And he said, well, what do you mean? So I said, all right, see this? And I think maybe somebody will see this. Yeah, okay. See this piece of paper? Okay. See this piece of paper? Wow. Okay, now I'm going to go between one dimension and another. Watch very closely. Now, see this? Can you see what's going on over here? Now you see?
When you're able to fold space and time as a unification, then
there you go.
Yeah.
Now I just moved 100 billion light years.
And did you move, or did you stay right where you are and brought it to you?
Bing, you brought it right to you. And people don't get it. And that's where people like Rob and people like Mark can wrap the whole thing up. You know what I mean? It's the truth coming out.
And that's the point. All of us crazy nut jobs were only crazy until it was starting to be validated. That's why I'm like, oh, for me at 5 years old is when I was activated by Jesus floating over the kitchen table with spaceships over his shoulders. And I'm like, what the? And all these years like, oh, this is not the only planet that the Christ consciousness is connected with. Oh, right, man. It's eternal. And just coming in, hey, what are you can do? And even more. You just need to know it's possible. Okay. And then we get into, all that other good stuff.
Yeah,
it's always good. Yeah. It's all about the love. True.
And you guys, I'm sorry you didn't get to do some cards in that.
That's
today.
okay. When the time is right. Hey, this is great. I always have a conversation with you. It's awesome. And it's interesting to see your back. Like, wow, it just all disappeared.
I have to show you the numbers. The numbers over there, and that are so small. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Somebody else is on the phone right now. Listen, whoever is on the phone, you're gonna have to wait a little bit. Unless you guys want to take one caller.
Let's do one before we go. You cool with that? Okay, and then we're good. We'll take the time. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Who is on the phone? You're on the line.
Yeah, it's me, Rob Potter. I just I had called. I had a medical emergency at the hospital. I just got back, and I can now certainly, if you're allowed to go longer, I can talk. It sounded like I only was on for a short time here, so I apologize for being late. But I have a lot of information to share on my own. I'm sure what was interesting because just for the record, guys, I have video recordings of extraterrestrials. The moon base commander from Venus, Commander Ora Raines, was very famous in the 50s to many of the original contactees. I also worked with Dr. Frank Bell in my early days, and Dr. Frank Stranges. And I've met Valiant Thor, Don, Valiant Thor's wife, Jill, and many other Venusians, including the security chief, Oran, who's 2,400 years old. So I have a lot to reveal about the truth of extraterrestrial life. I know the history of the government's cover-up and a lot of other things. So, I guess we're all on the same page. And I didn't really listen enough to talk, but you mentioned you could go longer, so I apologize for being late. Is Mark on the show?
No, Mark is on tomorrow.
Yeah, it's just us oddballs.
Oh, okay.
Hey, now what if, Rob, that there's a potential that on the molecular structure of thought patterns, thought within it, that if you're connected with anybody, psychic mediumship or whatever, you're picking up on the thought patterns. What if the molecular structure of this human body is able to absorb that energy of consciousness, and in this case, start to vibe with it? What if there's just a unification of oneness as a potential?
Well, everything comes from the Creator. And Alex Call, you're a good friend of mine, and I have talked about this for years, and we call it the isness. Always is, was, and always will be.
Yep.
The understanding infinite creative intelligence of all things in all dimensions, in all time and places, beyond anything we can even imagine with our dualistic material mind, is really impossible. It can also be called the unknowable, the knowing, the knower, and the known. And for me personally, in asking the Venusians, I'm not really like, I've always accepted the ascended master Christ, and I've always wondered about the creation. And as I understand this, through the Venusians, the Urantia book, and other studies, is that each universe has a creator sun. And the creator sun is responsible for all life within the galaxy. Now, who created those creator suns? They're actually neither male or female, but we call them like Archangel Michael. Now, there's 8 galaxies in our supercluster, with the M1 Andromeda galaxy being the primary one in the center. So where is God? Where is the creator? God is everywhere and everything. Where is God not, was what I would say.
Exactly.
The immanent aspect of the creator in everyone is known as the Christ consciousness. The ultimate aspect of God is that relationship of the individual as part of that whole holographic fractal unification of all as one, as you said. Now, the Venusians, I've asked them, I said, look, I know Elena Zanon, I introduced Michael Sala to the first guy. I was the first guy to have Corey Good out. There's a lot of egos running around, including in the contactees and the perception, especially amongst the followers who get into fights over one of the contactees' information. So I asked Alon, the security chief. He's 2,400 years old, born under Darius the Great in 600 BC, and became a translated Venusian. Through his service and good works, he was taken to Venus and used the technology that's 18 million years old called the Vril technology, which originally came from the Pleiades star system from the planet Aldebaran. Now, they were going around hybridizing races, and there was a lot of genetic wars going on. So there's a lot of hybridized beings in the world. So the Venusians have this technology, and they don't use it to take over and hybridize other people. So when I asked them, what's this, all the confusion, I said, why don't you just take us all up and give us the plan? He says, listen, Rob, he says, there are thousands and thousands of federations and confederations and alliances in this galaxy alone. Each federation has its own agenda. Each planet within that federation has an agenda. And each being that contacts a human has an agenda. But the most variable problem is the apperception of the human, their belief structure, their religious, their scientific understanding, and they make misquote statements. I can tell you, Elena Zanon she's a real contactee. I've spoken to her, and I know that a lot of her information is correct, but I know that some of her information is wrong, simply wrong. I know a lot of different people who have various apperceptions, but I can tell you that it's the human. So the Venusians work telepathically. They have something called a tensor beam. It's a pencil fine light beam that can actually telepathically speak in your head. I had Semyasi, the Pleiadian cosmonaut who was working with Dr. Fred Bell when I was very, very young. I started having contacts around 17 or 18 through Dr. Fred Bell. And Wendell Stevens was sending us the contact notes. Now, these contact notes from Billy Meyer gave me a great deep understanding. The ships were following me home from Fred's house. They were taking me out of my body a lot. And at the end of his life, Wendell Stevens, I took him to Egypt with Howard Menger, who met Valiant Thor in his backyard and everything.
Cool.
And the famous pictures of Valiant Thor. And I sat between Wendell Stevens on my left-hand side, and behind me were Howard and Connie Menger. So I had a conversation with them on this trip. And so Wendell Stevens, at the end of his life, sent me UFO contact from the Pleiades, and the number on it was 002. That's my bona fide credential as a Pleiadian contactee. Billy Meyer has copy number 1. I have 002. So I'm an old school contactee, face-to-face contactee since 1982, probably before out of body. And actually 81 or 80 is when Semyasi was coming into the house. I didn't realize it was her until afterwards. So they work behind the scenes. And for the most part, the Venusians are not about silver spaceships and spacesuits. They're about understanding the spiritual knowledge of the universe and overcoming the fallen angels that have inhabited this earth and are now being removed. They're the Anunnaki, the transhumanist ones that had sex with humans and fell from their estate and created the demons. And they basically owned the earth for 16,000 years. So when Christ came to become baptized, Satan appeared to him and said, hey, you guys, you've been raising people from the dead. You've got quite a name for yourself. He says, I own the world. He says, worship me. I can give you anything. And he said, get thee behind me. So the Creator's Son, according to the Venusians, came from Venus. He was an ascended master of 20 million years. They're known as the Kumaras. 4 Kumara brothers were born about 18 million years ago, and they all became ascended masters in one lifetime, all the way to the 7th dimension, from the 3rd dimension to the 7th. So now we have them incarnating throughout this galaxy on various worlds to bring light and life and information as ascended masters. Beyond the 6th dimension and below, everything is dualistic. In the 7th dimension and higher, there's this other aspect of unity. So that he was chosen to hold the Creator's Son must incarnate in all 7 dimensions of his creation in the galaxy. He chose the Earth. So for 3.5 years, he fused with a 18 million year old ascended master, Sunat Kumara, who we call Yoshua ben Joseph or Sunat Kumara. He's known as Sananda and other names. So the Venusians consider him the living Word of God made flesh. Now, they said he's worthy of worship. And I said, how can I worship an individual? And they said, listen, Rob, he said, worship the Spirit of God, which was manifest through Christ in his perfect life of service to humanity. And Alon, I knew he was walking with Jesus because he's from Venus. I said, you worked on his security force, didn't you, when he was on the earth? He said, yes, many of us were present, but the Master never needed our help. He proved his love for humanity by his death on the cross, and he proved his divinity by his resurrection. After his resurrection, he was known throughout the world by various names. He went to South America, and he was known as Kukulkan. In Tulum, he was known as Quetzalcoatl in Mexico, known as Viracocha. He was known as Tacoma in the Northwest. So when he went to Mexico in Kukulkan, he says, I'm a shepherd. I've come here to talk with the rest of my flock. He appeared in a spaceship. And he gave them 2 things. He said, bring me all your sick and your infirmed, and I will heal them. And he stopped the sacrifices that was going on at that time because of the fallen priesthoods down there. They were sacrificing humans. This is again going on modern day, as we know, in the government cover-up in the deep state. And to understand this, there is an interdimensional aspect of the inner earth. And the heavenly administration in the earth defaulted. And they were invited into the earth by humans 16,000 years ago. There was a council at Teotihuacan to end these giant wars that there was going on amongst the various humans and ET groups at that time. And they said, we can end the war. They probably created it. And then the humans invited them in, and they had a contract for 16,000 years. That's why Christ could not overcome them. So, and Christ had a twin brother, by the way, who was married to Mary Magdalene and other things. So there's a lot of amazing revelations coming through my face-to-face contacts, and I'm allowed to send written messages, and I get voice-recorded messages back from the Queen of Venus. The Queen of Venus is chosen not by DNA and family, but by the lifetimes of service to humanity. And my friend Raymond Keller was taken to Venus for 2.5 months. And Valiant Thor, many of the Venusians were taken from the Earth. Probably 6,000 Venusians and guests were taken who were living on the Earth, were taken up and witnessed the ascension of the previous queen. And then the regent of Venus, who we would know as the ascended master El Moria, or the good thief, the one who died with Christ on the cross, was a Robin Hood-like character. Jesus said, "You'll be with me this day in paradise." Jesus appointed him as the regent of Venus. So they have councils up there, and the queen of Venus, the highest manifestation of love in the galaxy, and the highest consciousness in the third and fourth dimension, and probably the fifth dimension as well, is the Queen of Venus. She's the queen of the Confederation. Our local is called the Galactic Confederation of Light. It's comprised of 51 solar systems and 801 or 601 worlds. He has been chosen as the head of this federation, including Sirius and other areas. And they all are agreed that the Earth needed to be cleaned up, and these, what they call the intruders or the interlopers of Anunnaki, who have been involved in the transhumanist takeover of the Earth, utilizing various technologies of extreme technological advancement, which the Anunnaki has given to these elite royal families. These elite royal families had created inside the Earth different levels of hybridization, including these are the fallen side of Cain and all that. They're interdimensional beings, and they were the ones responsible for the quantum rulership of the Earth, which includes giving money to the Earth and controlling the money system. Money's the root of all evil, and that's what they created. They created a group called the Parents.
Hey, Rob.
Parents,
Rob.
hybridized a lot of humans. Yeah.
Hello, Rob. I got to let them go.
All right.
They're on a schedule. So
hey, I love the information. I'd love to be able to talk with you. I do a lot of scientific studies and all that good stuff. We're working on some technology, excuse me, that if you've got those direct connects, if you're open, I'd love to talk with you and see if you'd like to do something with those connections.
Yeah, I'll give you my phone number if you want.
Yeah. I can give it
You
to
ready?
him. I can give it to him.
Yeah, give it to me offline. That way you're not going to be inundated. That way it's a little bit more relaxed. Yeah, there's a lot of information that I'm vibing with what you're sharing, and so much more. But yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Rob. Appreciate it, man.
Look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have your 855 number. So, Rob?
Oh, mine is
No.
3502.
No, don't worry. The one that you called me on, the other phone, I have.
Yeah.
So I'll give it to Jamie.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
All right, man.
Cool. Thanks, Bob. Always great, brother. Always good.
See, we learn things by these shows.
Yeah, I'm always learning. Heck yeah.
And all of what he's talking about, Ned, I heard, we spoke about this years ago and things. And, all these things are coming to a pinnacle. I mean, we are being able to, as humans, be able to realize we're not alone, for sure.
Now, right, it's a little more accepting. That's the point. But notice, that's pretty powerful if it's all connected around Earth, that they've been here that long. And yet they're connected to other worlds. Yeah, kind of interesting.
We're going to find out more. And Rob is going to be on here with me on the 25th.
Cool. Of this month.
Yes.
Okay.
And so what we are actually doing in it with Mark being here tomorrow and Rob being here, we're kind of sort of stressing to people, don't believe everything you hear, because there's more to it.
Yeah.
And if people will just listen to the shows that we're going to do, take the information that they have, keep listening to it, look it up, use Google, for crying out loud. There's a million different things that you can use, Bing and oh God, there's all kinds.
Do your homework. Exactly.
Do your homework, because we're not. This is not going in one ear and out the other. It can stick. It really can.
We just needed to know it was there.
If it sticks. Oh yeah, like we always say, on these shows, you learn. You want an education? Come here. You want love? Come here. You want acceptance? Come here. You want to be yourself? come here. God bless y'all. Bob Charles.